Let's talk about drugs, because if you take lots of drugs, then you'll probably get something out of this film. Otherwise, you'll find this a very bizarre and somewhat confusing film. We are talking about Mark of the Witch, which came out in the UK in 2016. It was originally released under another title, which was simply called Another, and that one came out in 2014 on the kind of the festival circuit. It's also been released as The Devil's Daughter. So this one stars an actress called Paulie, who looks the spitting image of Jennifer Love Hewitt. So if you're a Jennifer Love Hewitt fan and you want to see a movie that she could have done, then check this one out. So it's a very bizarre film, and the story here focuses on a young girl, basically, and she's celebrating her birthday, and it turns out that she has a kind of a dark past, and you know, she's finding out about her kind of like parentage and her family, and discovering basically it all is not as it seemed, and she may have been involved in a kind of some kind of a darker path, and she's comes in contact with really kind of two kind of older women who may have kind of family ties there. And suffice it, there's a whole lot of kind of devil worshippery, witchcraft, and all sorts of spooky goings on. So the main thing of this film, this is a kind of, I would say, somewhat of an arty film. In fact, it's not somewhat of an arty film, it's a way arty film, and it's certainly going to put some people off. I will start off with the positives first of all. This film, I have to say, is visually very kind of very interesting. It has some very kind of creative visual flares. And like I said, the main actress here looks a lot like Jennifer Love Hewitt. I'd go so far to say I think she's actually probably a little bit prettier than Jennifer Love Hewitt. Suffice to say, you know, it's obviously a little bit easy on the eyes if you are a red-blooded male or otherwise. However, that's pretty much where the positives end with this film. So this film is extremely bizarre, and I think it's more concerned with being kind of weird and arty without really kind of developing much kind of story. The acting here, I have to say, is pretty much universally bad across the entire cast here. I will say that some of the cast look good in their parts, but they don't necessarily act that well. There's these two kind of older women, who I won't kind of go too much into detail in regards to who they are and kind of things, obviously spoilers and all that. But suffice to say, they're both kind of creepy, and they both really look the part, and kind of as you can guess by the title, sort of Mark of the Witch, they both kind of have a certain witchiness about them, and kind of both look quite menacing without kind of overdoing it with too much makeup and stuff like that. So they both look very good, and obviously the female lead as well, the younger girl, as I say, looks very pretty to look at as well. But the whole thing is just a bizarre film. So much of this film is in slow-mo. It's like slow-mo the movie, basically. So it's actually quite a scant running time as is. But if you were to play this at full speed all the way, it's probably only going to be about half an hour, to be honest with you. Because so much of the time it's in slow-mo, and it becomes really annoying. There's these weird kind of little choices that the director has here. Again, trying to I think it's too concerned of making it, let's make this arty and kind of weird, and I'm so like David Lynch or whatever. Oh man, it's just really hard to sit through. There's virtually no time kind of developing the characters. There's not much time kind of like giving you this kind of moving the plot along. It wants to spend so much of its time really just kind of trying to have all these kind of interesting visual flourishes, which, like I say, yes, they kind of look quite fun and kind of quite interesting, but that's not maybe what you want to see if you want to see a kind of a coherent story that kind of furthers the plot and things like that. Like I said, I think the acting is pretty much universally terrible. There's some kind of real choppy sort of CGI effects, especially kind of CGI kind of fire in one scene, which I thought was terrible. Overall, this film becomes a real bit of a chore to sit through. Like I said, if you want to take loads of drugs, and if you're into that kind of thing, and this is going to be a very trippy adventure for you, then maybe that's really the only way I would say, mate, to say this film is worth watching in that respect. But otherwise, if you just want a coherent story with an interesting plot and characters and stuff like that, then you ain't going to find it in this one. So for that, I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 10, only because it has some interesting visual flourishes. That is pretty much it. Or if you want to check out Paulie, who is, I think, a potentially maybe something to look for in the future. Other than that, probably much avoid this one. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.